What's up, people? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Pro Wrestling Talk Radio, the show where wrestling fans rate and debate the hottest topics in the world of wrestling. I am J-Dub, and joining me on the hosting panel tonight is David. We're going to get started tonight with the best in the world, Mr. Daniel Bryan. He kicked off Monday Night Raw. He was in the ring with Vince McMahon, the chairman of the board, and there's been some speculation these last few weeks. People were assuming that Vince was the one pulling the strings for Brad Maddox, and he had this vendetta against Daniel Bryan, and he was using Brad Maddox's position as the general manager of Raw to fulfill that vendetta, and those assumptions turned out to be true, as Vince basically just told Daniel Bryan, I don't want you to be WWE Champion. You do not fit the image of what I see as a WWE Champion. And Daniel Bryan, he stood up for himself. And David, what did you make of this segment between the best and the boss?
I thought it was a little bit cute where Daniel Bryan tried to, well, I don't know if that's the right word. I got to use a more manly word. I thought it was funny how Daniel Bryan tried to act taller than Vince when Vince said, let me get down to your level. It was a good comeback. Daniel Bryan is immensely improved on the mic, leaps and bounds. I don't know whether it's just the gimmick that's helped him or whatever it is. He's completely improved himself. I'd say he's the most improved guy over the last couple of years that I've seen. Probably the best jump that I've seen in ever, you know? Whereas when he first came in, he was bland. He was as bland as the first piece of bread. But now, this guy has the best gimmick going in wrestling. So I thought the segment, it was okay. I'm not sure if the Cena stuff, if the part where Vince said he didn't want Cena to win either came in this segment or the other. Did it?
It was in this segment.
It was? Okay. That's when the segment kind of went downhill for me. And disclaimer, I'm not a Cena hater. I actually think he's a great wrestler, but I just felt that it came off way too forced. Cena, it's not like he's in Austin's position, whereas Austin was a beer chugging, always beating up his boss, anti-authoritarian, or even The Rock, who would leave for, shoot movies and stuff, and very disrespectful to his boss. Well, obviously in kayfabe, not in real life. I mean, I'd assume he didn't do that stuff in real life. But anyway, well, at least the disrespecting his boss part. But anyway, I think that part was very hokey with John Cena. It came off way too forced. It would have made much more sense for them to just stick with Daniel Bryan, but I guess they didn't want John Cena to get any heat, which that in itself doesn't make any sense because that ship has already sailed. Other than that, though, I like the effort to do this with Daniel Bryan. I think it's the perfect storyline. He does not fit the mold of a top WWE superstar at all. And I think that having him going through having him have to go through a corporate wall basically to get over that hump, I think that is the next step in the evolution of his character. Now, hopefully he doesn't. I highly doubt he'll turn heel and join and form a new corporation with the McMahon family. But hopefully he doesn't do that. But my general thoughts on the whole edition of Cena, it's just really lame at this point. They've tried everything to make this guy popular, and he's popular, but not for the right reasons. They've tried their damnedest, and it really isn't going to help at this point. So that's the only thing that hurt this segment.
That's a great phrase that you use there, Daniel Bryan having to go through the corporate wall to break through to that other side of WWE, because that's exactly what's going on, both on and off screen. They're putting him through the ringer, seeing if he has what makes a top star in WWE. He may not have the look or the size or anything like that, but the fire, the intensity, the passion, the toughness, he's proving to them right now that he does have that. And I didn't even really think about the whole angle of John Cena and Vince talking about how he didn't want him as champion. I didn't examine it in the way that you did, because when I heard it last night, I just laughed my ass off. Like I was like, oh, that was a pretty funny joke, Vince. I could just imagine he was in his head laughing too. Like, oh, I wonder if anybody out here actually believes this bullshit.
He was kind of laughing when he said it.
Yeah, but it doesn't really make much sense, because if you look over the history of all of the people that Vince has had issues with, people like The Rock, people like Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's the number one example there. And then he's had issues with Triple H too. John Cena, he is the prototype, and that was a little nod to his history in wrestling, but he's a prototype of what you would want as a champion. He's clean cut, doesn't get into much trouble. He's everything that you would envision a champion to be and the face of your company to be. So Vince going out there and talking about how, well, maybe, I don't know, I could probably See, now that I'm thinking about it, because the reason he did give, he said John Cena used to have this ruthless aggression, but he doesn't have that anymore. So maybe that's a little bit understandable from that perspective. But when he said it, I kind of was like, yeah, that doesn't make too much sense. But back to what you were talking about, it does seem like they're trying to throw John Cena into the same boat as Daniel Bryan, and like, okay, we're going to look at these two individuals as if they're similar. Both of these guys have management going against them, and both of these guys are going to get sympathy because of it. But I don't think it's going to work in John Cena's case. The fans are a lot smarter than that. I'm going to go ahead and give them credit and say they're not going to be like, oh, John Cena, he's being disenfranchised just in the way that Daniel Bryan is, so we're going to cheer for both of them. That shit is not going to work.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense from a storyline perspective, because I'd imagine if we're trying to get Daniel Bryan over, which I would assume that's the case for this match, you should try to make it more the focus on Daniel Bryan. John Cena's going to get booed regardless of what you do. It's been proven at this point. They put video packages of him meeting with kids who have cancer, and people still boo him out of the building. So
well, that's because they're assholes.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that at this point, people are just so sick of him, it's kind of fruitless to do anything about it. So whether the crowd are just being douchebags or not, there's just nothing else that you can do about it. The storyline should be about Daniel Bryan, because if you try to get them both to be cheered for, it kind of, for me, I think that it takes a bit of the spotlight off of Bryan. Just make it about him. We're trying to get him over. We're not trying to get him to be the face of the company. Well, I don't think they want him to be the face of the company, but let's try to just make this more about him, because when you put John Cena into this, it just takes away. It just makes it, it's just very hokey to have him say, oh, he's not corporate enough, man. I don't like John Cena. He's for the people. That's completely hokey bullcrap. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's bullcrap. I would assume that John Cena likes his fans and stuff, but it just seems very hokey.
Well, let's not forget that in this storyline that's building up towards their match, John Cena is the WWE Champion here. So let's not cut him out of the deal completely, but just have him incorporated into the storyline in a different way. Because I was I was on Twitter and I was about to type out a tweet, letting people know what we were talking about, and I was gonna say we're discussing the feud between Daniel Bryan and John Cena, but the truth is, it's not really a feud between Daniel Bryan and John Cena. It's a feud between Daniel Bryan and Vince McMahon. The story is Daniel Bryan, he's not the picture of what WWE management envisions as a WWE champion, and his quest is to win that WWE championship and prove them wrong. But I would like for them to add a little bit more fire to Daniel Bryan and John Cena as people, as competitors, one-on-one versus each other. And we saw them starting to plant the seeds for that at the end of Monday Night Raw with John Cena. John Cena, I think he snatched his WWE championship back from Daniel Bryan. So that was a very minuscule moment, but it was a start of something that's hopefully greater to come in the future.
Yeah, I kind of retract what I said before. I don't want John Cena to take a backseat in the storyline. He is the WWE champion. But what I meant was, I think what I ultimately want, these guys are just hugging each other a bit. John Cena rushing to save Daniel Bryan. I mean, it does seem like in his character to do something like that, but these guys are about to fight for the most important thing that they kill themselves over. So I don't think they should be, all lovey-dovey. I'd like to see them get more aggressive towards each other too. And I think that a good storyline where it wasn't necessarily about it wasn't necessarily about the heel. Well, there's no heel in this case, but Stone Cold versus Dude Love. If you remember that match, especially if you played WWE 13's Attitude Era mode, they did a great job recreating that match. Stone Cold was feuding. This was like the beginning of the Stone Cold McMahon feud. I think it was right after WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels obviously retired, so I think he went against Dude Love. And Dude Love was kind of in Daniel Bryan's position, but he was a heel. And Stone Cold was feuding with McMahon, but he didn't fight McMahon. Instead, Dude Love was kind of a placeholder. So if they could go back and look at what made that feud work and put it into this feud, I think that would be helpful, because that was a decent feud. The match, it didn't really come off, and in fact, it was a really weird finish. Stone Cold counted the pin, and he just won because screw it, he's Stone Cold. But anyway, it was a nice feud.
And there's one angle of this situation that we absolutely cannot ignore. As we mentioned, Vince McMahon, he was out in the ring and he was talking about how he didn't want Daniel Bryan to be the WWE Champion, nor did he want John Cena to be the WWE Champion. Now, when you're having a conversation about two competitors in a match for the WWE Championship and you don't want either of them to win, I'd be remiss if I did not mention the elephant in the room. Randy Orton with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Was this as obvious to you as it was to me?